Hey, what's going on, peoples? This is Lbtharealist with Surrealistic Studios, and one of my subscribers, I believe he's a subscriber, he or she, whoever you may be, they pointed something out to me that I had to do some further investigation for myself. Something that's going on in Colombia right now. They call it false positives. Have you ever heard of false positives? Neither have I. If you have, good for you. You're more informed. I'm getting there myself. I'm gonna just go ahead and read from this article here. This is actually from ColumbiaReports.com. And false positives is basically the military executing civilians and portraying them as guerrillas or paramilitaries, or I'll just read from the article. Here we go. Colombia's so-called false positive scandal is centered around the extrajudicial killings of thousands of civilians by members of the armed forces who dressed their victims as guerrillas in order to present them as combat kills. So they dress them up as the enemy in order to present them to their superiors so they can get bonuses and watch. While governmental and non-governmental organizations have been denouncing the practice for years, the Colombian government of then-President Álvaro Uribe denied the armed forces were killing civilians until late 2008, when prosecution investigators linked the bodies of unidentified rebel fighters found in the north of the county to people who had been reported missing in Soacha, a city south of the capital, Bogota. How bad things got. And in June 2015 report, the Prosecutor General's office said it had found that the armed forces and civilian collaborators had killed 4,475 civilians since 1986. The armed forces and civilian collaborators had killed 4,475 civilians since 1986. The same office said that 5,137 officials were implicated in the extrajudicial killings, while 923 have been convicted. Some 862 members of the National Army, mainly lower-ranked officials, have been sentenced to prison. Meanwhile, the people that weren't convicted and sentenced to prison were promoted, and till this day hold positions of power in the military and probably in police. So check this out. They give a graph here of the extrajudicial killings in Colombia per year. I'll just show you real quick. And you can freeze frame that if you need to. All right. They also say here, investigators found out that the general modus operandi was to lure civilians to secluded areas, execute them, dress them up as guerrillas, and then present the bodies as a combat kill. Why the military began executing civilians? According to the media reports, the civilians were killed in order to collect bonuses. This has been categorically denied by the Colombian government in spite of abundant evidence and testimonies corroborating that the soldiers were given financial rewards and extra holidays if they were able to present combat kills. What the practice did do, be it intentionally or unintentionally, was inflate the apparent success of the government in its fight against left-wing guerrillas and right-wing paramilitaries. When purifying the combat kills figure by subtracting the number of executed civilians from the number of registered combat kills, the apparent effectiveness of the army seems much different and shows that, for example, in 2007, the year that most false positives were registered, and it's crazy when you look at the graph, more than 2 of 5 registered combat kills were in fact executed civilians. And I'll show you this graph, just in case you don't get around to clicking on the article. You can freeze frame that if you want to. And remember, this is combat kills as reported by the Colombian military. So that's like the Washington, D.C. Police Department giving us a graph on their corruption within the Washington, D.C. Police Department. Okay? Oh, there's another one right here. Reported combat kills minus established false positives. And you can freeze frame that if you need to. All right, and I'll just read a little bit more here. While the UN called the extrajudicial killings widespread and systematic, and figures showed the practice occurred in 30 of Colombia's 32 provinces by the majority of military brigades, the Colombian Military Command and the government insisted the murders had been isolated incidents. A very long history of abuse. It is unclear when the practice began. According to a diplomatic cable from 1997, a body count syndrome in the Colombian army tended to fuel human rights abuses by well-meaning soldiers trying to get their quota to impress superiors. Colombia's Prosecutor General Office has registered extrajudicial killings since 1985, but did not register the steep increase until 2002, particularly in the northwestern Antioquia province. According to demobilized commanders of the paramilitary AUC, the practice began when authorities in the northwest of Colombia were complaining about high murder rates due to killings carried out by paramilitaries. In order to lower the homicide rate and increase the army's apparent effectiveness, paramilitaries allegedly handed over murder victims to allied military commanders who then presented the victims as guerrillas killed in combat. When the paramilitary organization AUC demobilized between 2003 and 2006, the Colombian military had become solely responsible for combating guerrilla groups like the FARC, and ELN, keeping up appearances. Facing a declining number of combat kills in 2004, Defense Minister Camilo Ospina in 2005 issued the Directive Number 29, in which the government defined, among other, the payment of rewards for the capture or killing of ringleaders of the illegal armed groups. The government decree set the reward at COP 3.8 million or $1,500 for each killed ringleader or member of rebel groups. The number of civilian executions subsequently doubled from 386 in 2005 to 753 in 2006, when Juan Manuel Santos took over Ospino's role as defense minister. In spite of growing complaints by both governmental and non-governmental human rights organizations that the military appeared to be executing civilians on a large scale, Santos ignored all allegations. Consequently, the practice worsened to an extent that in 2007, 40% of 2,000 report combat kills were in fact executed civilians. The beginning of the end. Unhindered by political pressure, the military kept on killing civilians and reporting them as killed guerrillas until 2008, when Obama was elected for the first time. The Washington Post revealed the practice, and Colombian weekly Semana reported on one case that happened in Soacha, a city neighboring the capital Bogota, where at least 11 men had disappeared. So they reported one case. The publicity forced the resignation of National Army Commander General Mario Montoya, who has since become one of the 22 generals under investigation for the mass killings. And here I'll just show you they have a documentary on false positives. I haven't watched it yet, but you guys can check it out and let me know what you guys think. So yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, another article that I read also stated that all these officials in the military, a lot of them that weren't caught have leading positions now in the military. So the Colombian government and military is rampant with corruption, just like our own, I'm sure. And big ups to the viewer that pointed this out to me. And if you guys have any stories that you feel as though aren't getting light, and you feel as though they need to be spoken about, they need to be talked about more in alternative media, please email me at lbtharealist@gmail.com, or you can shout it out in a comment. I'll be sure to try to address that issue. I'll do my research on it, and yeah, I'll do my very best. A lot of times stories go unreported just because of pure ignorance, just because we don't know exactly what's going on. We can't depend on our mainstream media to tell us everything, and we can't depend on them to keep hammering the points and the issues that we all need to address. So with that being said, y'all support alternative media. Share, like, comment, subscribe if you haven't subscribed before. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, most importantly. And remember, love, peace, and chicken grease, my peeps. Oh yeah, follow me on all social media platforms. Google your boy. And till next time.